and I don't know about the boots since boots is more about team comp and the enemy, like the opponents, what boots you want, but yeah, definitely strange not to see a ported belt rush.
Yeah, it's an odd one, but we are going to jump straight into champ select here as EDG are going to pick up the blue shorts. Rox wearing red, of course suits their icon, which makes a heck of a lot of sense, and the bans have already come through, and first pick as Elise, Jace, and Olaf were taken away by EDG, and Rox got rid of Syndra, Nidalee, and Rek'Sai. Kennen to be locked away first there by Kuro.
Yeah, pretty standard for, I guess, this tournament in general, for Nidalee to be out of the picture, straight away from the bans. Elise and Rek'Sai also pretty standard. Pretty clear why they'd want to ban Olaf since ClearLove did not do so well last game, and yeah, that's sort of like the top tier jungle list, jungle pool right now is the Olaf, Elise, Nidalee, and Rek'Sai.
This is really interesting because we know, I personally know EDG is a team that do like to play a lot of Kennen support. Deft had a very interesting game on Kalista where he destroyed people towards the end of the most recent split. I'm excited to see whether they mix up this draft, but EDG's draft's been where the question marks have lied. And Rox are going to take away the Zyra and the Lee Sin, two very important parts of what made their team so strong in game number 1.
I feel like already the draft is already setting up for disaster, unless that Kennen is going to be a flex into support, but I think that would be very rare. The blue side Kennen against a red side Lee Sin is going to be very, very hard to coordinate ganks up in the top lane, because generally there is a lot more breathing room for the red side top laner. And the Kennen first pick on Kuro just guarantees that Smeb gets whatever counter pick he wants and enables Rox Tigers to basically sculpt whatever they want to do. They hand over Aurelion Sol again with the Ryze, and honestly I don't think Ryze is as good of a pick as like Twisted Fate or something into Aurelion Sol. And the Zyra giveaway is just also very, very bizarre. So already, I think EDG is already off to a pretty atrocious start in the draft phase.
Yeah, I don't really like this draft either. It's mostly because EDG, really feels like they're just catering towards Core 1 right now. Like, it's more of comfort, I'd say, trying to pick up Kennen first pick and banning Jace. So it's definitely not ideal draft, only to cater towards Core 1.
Well, Kuro makes sense to lock away the Aurelion Sol, and Maokai is going to be picked up by Smeb.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think Maokai is pretty good because double AP. This is something that I was speculating might have actually happened in response to all the Syndra picks in the double AP compositions that were coming out, mostly the Syndra Rumble and other sort of picks that we've been seeing Worlds so far. I think Maokai is basically sort of a forgotten pick. It is able to be bullied out by Kennen, but it's not the end of the world, given that he does have a red side Lee Sin. So when it does now reach the mid game, even though there's a lot of sources of magic damage coming out of the Rox Tigers, it's not like EDG can really itemize against it, and the Maokai is just going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, just imagining the team fights, Maokai is not going to die anytime quick against the sort of team comp that EDG has.
Unless something crazy can happen snowballing in the early game, and it's not going to be like Kuro's going to keep Smeb down all that heavily in lane. I agree with you, gentlemen. 1 second to go. EDG are going to take away the Karma and the Hecarim. By the looks of things, there was a hover of the Alistair. He's feeling a little bit better about that, but they really want some added lane pressure against whatever Rox are going to be putting out. Caitlyn is still available if Prey wants to play it, and that would make a lot of sense.
Yep. I feel like the Caitlyn pick would be the most ideal here. It would give them a pretty good source of physical damage in the later stages of the game, and it would enable her to remain relatively safe at all points. Even though there is a Kennen, it's going to be pretty hard for EDG to actually coordinate flank teleport wards against red team with a blue Kennen when it does reach the later stages, primarily because of the Zyra and the Aurelion Sol component. And even if Kennen does manage to get into the back line, it's pretty difficult for him to actually stick onto a Caitlyn, given that there's the Maokai.
Yeah, Maokai and Lee Sin there as well. He can just boot him out if he wants to.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the Caitlyn, especially over something like an Ezreal. Just looking at the team comp, Ezreal seems pretty nice to play against the EDG team, but Caitlyn for the laning phase and for just the physical damage that she'll bring in team fight and just the sieging.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And Rox they haven't really changed anything. I mean, Smeb's going to switch over to the Maokai towards the top side of the map, but to me that it just feels like an even more well-rounded composition with now a stable tank there coming in. They had plenty of damage last time around, lots of safety, lots of zone control. It's just a very scary composition. And EDG, a team known for adaptation in best of 5 series, just don't feel like they have over here. And look, this is going to be a jungle focus, so we're looking at ClearLove versus Peanut. Is it going to be about Peanut once again having this fantastic early game where he's able to get all of that that pressure down, especially towards the top side?
The thing about red side Lee Sin with the Aurelion Sol and the Maokai is Lee Sin does have a lot of potency. Once you start hitting like level 4, 5, 6 up there in the top lane, I think that it's very easy for him to coordinate ganks with Maokai. Oh, what? I was watching the draft.
Got caught sitting down. The man just sitting. He just can't see all that good. I mean, that's totally okay.
I'm almost blind.
Completely okay. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, send in your questions on Twitter. Use the hashtag #AskTheCasters. Don't ask why LS was sitting down because we've already explained that one. And we'll bring you your responses throughout the series because this is going to be an interesting one because EDG seemed confident in what they had in the last game and realized that maybe they just didn't execute correctly. But I'm not sure whether that's the case as we hop onto Summoner's Rift.
Yep.
Yeah, looking into the jungle matchup, it's pretty obvious as Hecarim, you want to just keep farming up, wait for really opportune ganks. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting in the jungle, waiting to farm up, kind of just avoiding conflict until hitting that Triforce power spike where you just become a monster.
We'll see whether ClearLove can actually afford to do that, though, because Rox have a lot of tools to try and get things done in the early game in the form of that big old dragon in the mid lane, and Peanut, of course, running around his jungle trying to kick people in the face.
Yeah, looking at the lanes, how gank setup will work. For Peanut, I think Peanut will want to really look towards top side and how he wants to really just snowball Smeb's lane since it's a really hard matchup one-on-one, the Maokai versus Kennen, but bringing in gank pressure, it becomes really hard for Kennen to cement any sort of lead since one misstep in the lane will just end your laning phase right there and then.
Yeah, and Smeb gets an early Spectre's Cowl and Kennen goes, well, not sure what I can do at this stage.
Yeah, bot lane too, pretty volatile with double range matchup. It's really hard for either side to really set up. Otherwise, if either bot lane gets extremely loaded and gets chunked out, obviously there's die potential, but setting up a gank is actually pretty hard for bot lane.
Well, we'll see what EDG can do with what tools that they have here in this early game. Game number 2, of course, not do or die just yet, but they do need to try and get some momentum back in their favor.
Yeah, pretty standard start. Obviously, just top side, getting the leash.
Yeah, and ClearLove wants to be able to spam those spells, utilize that mana throughout the early jungle clear. Very going to help out. 10 out of 10 skin as well, might say, on Kuro. Karate Kennen, my personal favorite. So he's got that, at least, even if this game doesn't necessarily go the way of Kuro in the laning phase.
Yeah, you see this usually from the farming junglers like Olaf and Hecarim. They much prefer starting on the blue buff since they're very mana dependent, and it also leads to them having a really good full clear. And as long as their laners are stable, then yeah, they don't get punished, they just full clear.
And LS, their lane is going to be stable? That's the big question.
Well, the question basically I have for ClearLove is what do you actually do with this mid-top and bot? Because it's extremely difficult to actually find gank openings. And when you have an Aurelion Sol that's very likely to be roaming a lot with Lee Sin on Peanut, I don't know how Hecarim's actually expected to be able to keep up. And now they also know exactly where ClearLove is. So from here, it's very, very easy to also predict his path for about the next minute and a half because they know there's only 3 camps available to him. And when you're a jungler like Peanut, you're able to basically know, okay, he can go here, here, or here. And then if he doesn't show up at X location, then you can determine where he's likely to be.
Yeah, and at the moment, he's actually heading down towards the bottom side of the map. They did see him on that red buff. I'm going to ping that one out.
It looks like he's going for this. It's usually a kind of standard pathing where they do the 3 camp and Sin Tribush, since around this timing, that's when the support will want to go to ward. And some supports are pretty greedy. They want to go and ward up the tribe, but they end up just dying for it. So
is that something you would have done, Matt?
Maybe. I usually used to die to that. I don't die to that anymore.
All right, good. Well, thankfully, to champions in their regions, these teams not going to be doing the same thing. Although Gorilla does get his ward up there anyway. They're not going to take the Rift Sculler.
One of the interesting things already is Peanut acknowledges that he's pretty far ahead. I think just by getting the Scuttle Crab, there's no reason to really hand off the blue to Kuro yet. He might even actually take the blue right here, or it does look like it's going to be handed off to Kuro. But even though we're only 3 minutes and 45 seconds, Peanut's actually already really far ahead in terms of jungle efficiency and clear routes. And right now, ClearLove's in a pretty rough spot.
He's going to be able to grab a Rift Scuttler of his own and head up, grab maybe his Wolf Camp and Krog Camp, but we'll see whether he can actually turn things around. Peanut going to head back to base, grabs his first buy. The double longsword, the extra battle stats. And the pings are out on the top side of the map, so we'll see whether Kuro is going to be under fire. Of course, if you're talking about gank setup, I mean, that is most certainly the dream. It's Kuro actually down quite low.
It's definitely Flash.
We'll see whether ClearLove's going to get the pushback. He does,
oh, yeah,
but oh no!
Yeah, that was certainly a kill. If the way he used his E and just trying to push him back, he definitely did that wrong. I think he could have got another auto attack in if he did that right.
Yeah, unfortunate there for ClearLove. Does mean that Kuro does have to go back. Did use both of his summoner spells at the same time, but did feel a bit robbed.
Yep, definitely that gank did not go the way that EDG wanted. And I think even Scout messed up a little bit because they both have the same summoners, Ghost Flash, and Scout didn't really follow. Not that it's necessarily Scout's fault. ClearLove just made a mechanical error.
Yeah, I didn't quite see the Rune Prison come in as well. I feel like it could have been set up a little bit easier there for ClearLove to get a good knockback.
Yeah, so right before that gank happened, I was about to talk about something for the solo queue junglers at home. The way you want to be, you know, sort of looking outside of, so when you're leaving base, what you want to be looking for is the sort of path you'll be taking. So if you notice that your two camps bot side are up, you kind of want to pad your ganks with your jungle camp to make sure you're super efficient with how you farm your jungle and gank. So as you notice, as Hecarim walked out of base, he just immediately went to Wraiths instead of going to Golems. So maybe he's trying to gank, go for maybe a counter gank bot side by clearing the Wraiths and then going to Golems, or he's going to continue to top side. It's kind of just the mentality that he has going to his camps. He's not just picking whichever camp is up. He's clearly planning this out, and yeah, he's probably going for some bot side cover.
Oh, Deft in so much trouble. Good shield comes out of Meiko as Gorilla gets a decent snare down. Deft gets himself to safety as ClearLove trying to do this Krug camp, but it's not going to happen. Peanut's going to smite that one away. Looks 3v4 at the moment, but Realm Walker is coming in. Scout doesn't quite have that ultimate available. Rox are just going to back away. Yep. Not fighting off more than they can chew.
I don't think that Peanut's gank is necessarily meant to kill. I think what it's intended to do is actually just skew Deft's recall timings, because already Prey is at a massive CS advantage. Oh, yeah. And the longer that they can extend this and basically continue to bleed out Deft, it just gets worse and worse. So I think that the intent there is for Peanut just to contain Deft into the bottom lane. And if Kuro does find an opening, then yes, they can get a kill, but I don't think that the intent of the gank wasn't necessarily a kill itself.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely just using their resources of Aurelion Sol having a good roam timing and the bot lane just already dominating, and whenever you have a dominating lane, you want to put as much resources into it as possible.
Well, ClearLove actually going for a pretty optimistic pink placement timing there as well, knowing that there are 3 members towards the bottom side. Make that 4 as Kuro's going to make his way in.
Yeah, actually, using the Aurelion Sol to roam down here, they're just completely dominating this bot side, taking not only the turret HP, but just denying CS, causing the Hecarim to stay bot side. It's really good by Rox to stay down here. Even though it doesn't look like they're getting much, they're actually getting a lot of value from staying in bot side.
Scout's going to make his way in once again as well, so it looks like he will actually make it underneath the turret. You can see Meiko headed back to base, but Deft didn't get that recall off. And they really want to pressure this turret down. Good stun onto ClearLove. There's the Voice of Light. Oh my god, the flash kick! And Peanut's going to grab that first blood. Gorilla taking a fair bit of damage, gets Rune Prison. Not a lot of mana left on Rox, but this is all they wanted.
I can just see Peanut laughing.
As he generally does.
ClearLove looks pretty distraught.
Yeah, this is just a really good macro move by Rox, just to put all the resources in bot. It's always going to be favorable for them since they have so much more resources. Like their level advantage, they have more health and mana, they just have better tools of sieging. So, you know, it looks kind of ARAM-ish, but the way they use their just champions to siege is obviously the ideal play there. They get a free kill.
Yeah, ClearLove didn't have the level 6 available to him, so that Onslaught of Shadows would have been useful. But having the experience advantages across the board just from making the more proactive plays, big deal here for Rox.
Yeah. One of the things that we're not really mentioning is that Smeb's actually ahead in CS as Maokai versus Kennen without jungler influence.
Yeah, in a 1v1 that's not really supposed to happen. Kennen's supposed to have usually just complete dominance. Maybe it's core 1, you know, a little jittery, doesn't want to give up any sort of kills to any sort of jungle pressure, but as you've seen, Lee Sin's been on the bottom side of the map for the past like 4 minutes, and he's already at an 8 CS deficit, when he should be at about a 12 CS profit, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So right now, also I really like that Prey actually picked up a call. This is something that I don't see. Pretty nervous.
He's sweating.
Although Flash Twisted Advance is something that's, you know, Smeb can.
Yeah, he's respecting the Flash Twisted Advance,
Yeah.
but even then, it's kind of hard to say Kuro's doing much in this top lane.
No, certainly not. The Scout is going to get kicked with the Sonic Wave. Resonating Stride immediately to follow. Peanut taking a fair bit of damage. Kick's going to go back. ClearLove's going to be knocked up. He's in the bottom lane. Decent dodges there from Meiko. Deft gets some damage back as Kuro was roaming back down. It's good to see Kuro actually making sure that he gets those roams more effectively this game, because he has been across this map a lot pre-10 minutes.
They definitely want to make sure that they get that first blood tower. That's definitely what they're gunning for right now. And as soon as they can raise that tower, then it becomes very easy for Prey and Gorilla to rotate into mid lane. And by the time that that ends up happening, it's very likely that Scout's going to lose his blue buff, so he's not going to actually be able to sustain through the poke and harass that can come out from Prey and Gorilla. And then at that point, Peanut is going to be able to play West-centric and devote a lot of attention to mid lane and Smeb up in top lane. And that also directly plays into Kuro's ability to go top lane with him, along with Gorilla, and coordinate 4-mans against the top tier 1 turret and Kuro. Because at this point in the game, once bottom tier 1 goes down, then Rox Tigers tier 1 bottom actually becomes a sacrificial pawn that just draws EDG out of position. And they want to actually entice EDG to try to take it in favor of getting map superiority at other positions.
And what does the jungler do here in order to facilitate all of these extra actions that Rox now have available to them? What is Peanut's job facilitating here?
Well, for ClearLove, he's a pretty sad pony since he's getting out-CS'd and out-pressured. But for Peanut right now, it's really easy what he has to do. All he has to do is keep playing towards his strong side, which is the bot side. Keep warding around and just enable Kuro to roam down safely, and just being all on the same side allows for free objectives. So as you saw, they took the bot tower. Next, their focus is this dragon. And the way they take this dragon is really simple. They just push up all the way, get the correct vision control around dragon, probably up the ramp of dragon, and once they know that either the jungler's top side or any sort of advantage, like maybe Ryze is basing, Hecarim's in the top side, and they can easily take dragon whenever they want.
Well, right now, EDG are actually gathering some vision control around that particular area. Kuro, you can see playing very far back on the top side of the map based on Rox's unknown location.
Yeah, Peanut's not too worried about dragon right now because he's going for this top game.
Oh, dear.
The flashless Kennen seems really hard.
Yep, Slicing Master, I'm not going to get any stuns onto Peanut, just holds on to the Resonating Strike. All too easy there, as now Gorilla's in trouble. ClearLove is going to clean that one up, but Meiko's going to fall in the meantime. And Prey does get himself to safety. Scout actually looking for it. As Prey's taking a fair bit of damage, heal does go off.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, but it's kind of unfortunate because even though they did get a 1-for-1 bot, that's actually really bad since that was actually their weak side, and they still didn't get much of an advantage. Like usually when the jungler ganks top side and the mid lane roams top, then that means you get a free dragon or you try to get a gank off and get a dive. But here all EDG accomplishes is a 1-for-1 trade and no dragon.
Yeah, and they lose Meiko almost for free there as well. I mean, Gorilla played that extraordinarily well.
Yeah, and this game is just all about what Peanut wants to do. So Peanut just got a free gank top, and there's still a dragon available bot side. There's still a jungle to control top side, and it's just up to him what he wants to do.
Yep. And, I mean, at this point, one of the things that EDG was supposed to have was they were supposed to have a stronger first tier 1 item advantage, basically, inside of the Proto Belt on Kennen and the Yumu's Ghostblade on Jhin. Was supposed to give them superiority.
Yeah, and the Triforce and Hecarim too.
Yep.
Well.
And they're not going to have any of that.
They certainly don't have a Kuro either, as Peanut is able to, just use
That seems
his
like a
fists
complete
in the end.
collapse of just team communication. Just there's no communication about where the Soul's going, where the Lee Sin's at. And Kuro's just either they're not getting the communication or Kuro's just completely misplaying with that information, just letting himself become a free gank.
We didn't see a lot of pings from EDG towards that top side, so that breakdown in communication does make a fair bit of sense here. And like you said, sad pony following him around the map at the moment, having a look at the very happy Thai boxing man.
Yeah, just for the game plan, there's not much to do for ClearLove. There's not much to comment. He's just supposed to farm, wait for a good opportunity. But there's a lot to talk about for Peanut. So Peanut, as I said before, is all about taking objectives on his strong side, and he's back to his strong side. Even though there's all 5 members on the bot side, it doesn't really matter. The way they can play is getting a good TP flank fight here if the EDG does decide to contest. But it looks like they're just unable to contest for how strong Rox is right now.
Yeah, you can throw a lot of wards down over that pip. That's not going to get you a
This
dragon.
is a really bad position from EDG. There's 0 people in the mid lane, and they have a wave stacked up. So here goes half the mid turret's HP.
at least. Spray also has a BF sword and a Zeal, so he's going to actually chunk this one down.
Actually, not as much as I thought, but still not good positioning by EDG. Like, when you're behind, you just got to be thinking about what the enemy can do on the objective, so it's pretty clear after Dragon, and there's a mid-wave stacking up that you have to be mid to clear it. So when you're behind, you just have to keep thinking about what the enemy's going to do.
Yep. And, I mean, at this point, they might even actually have the ability to pick an opportunistic Herald, which isn't that bad given that they have a Maokai.
Whoa!
Pena's just controlling his blue. And Smeb has a flank angle. There's not much EDG can do, because for them, they have to go all the way forward to commit to a fight. And if they go forward, then Maokai behind you, you're not going to be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, and Peanut is able to steal away that blue buff as well.
Yeah, Rox just slowly went from Dragon to mid to their blue buff, and there goes everything. That's sort of just what happens when you're in control of the game.
I mean, at this point, the gold deficit is about 4,000, but when you factor in base scaling on that Maokai, and also the fact that they have so much scaling inside of the Aurelion Sol and the Caitlyn, this game is really already like just blown out of the water.
Yeah, right now if a team fight happened and the Maokai just decided to disconnect from the game, it'd take him probably like 7 seconds to actually die 1v5. So it's pretty hard for Rox to actually throw any sort of team fight. All they have to do is just go for either the slow bleed out, or maybe they can go for aggressive plays if they really want to, but to cleanly close out this game, all they got to do is just slowly, as a team, go around objectives, get the correct vision, and just take free towers.
And that's precisely what they're doing. Peanut is going to pressure away the EDG bottom lane for this outer turret on the top side of the map, and that is going to be the entire outer ring done for Rox. 5,000 gold is going to then be the lead. And look, Super Soak is done for Kuro. I mean, you were talking about the fact that Rox have a heck of a lot of scaling, but they also have a heck of a lot of power right now. With Gorilla having that ultimate now available to him, I mean, Prey in a very good position at this point for taking down turrets, which is exactly what Rox want to be doing. And Peanut, of course, they just have a lot of tools at the moment to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the vision, I mean, that also just tells a story in itself. It literally just looks like EDG is scrambling to try to get any sort of control anywhere on the map. And they're just being beat at every single angle. Deft is down 40 CS. Mid lane's up a little bit in CS, but top lane is down in CS, and that's just not supposed to happen in that matchup. And now we're seeing the gold graph across all
2,000 gold
champions.
in the lead is Prey. That is
Hecarim get a try
just
first yet?
ridiculous.
Please tell me it's a try first.
Nope. Not yet.
Soon
So,
PM?
yeah, just any of the junglers that rely on getting farmed, once you get behind, there's actually just no really good options. Like, the junglers like Graves and Hecarim, they need farm to actually be useful champions. So, as a team, when you fall behind, your farming jungler actually falls behind the most, because there's not much to do when the enemy is just taking over your jungle. There's no camps to farm, there's no plays to make. It's just really sad.
One of the things for me about the jungle components is, in theory, yes, Hecarim should be able to farm with these lanes, Ryze against Aurelion and Kennen against Maokai. But if that logic is going to really be applied, when we look at the 5v5, the Hecarim is just so out of place, and the pick itself just doesn't make any sense. There's no real incentive to have him, and then if you do fall behind, which is a possibility, then he's even more useless.
Oh, speaking of useless, Deft
Olaf?
didn't
What?
quite get very much damage down with that curtain call. Kuro just soaked up the entire thing. Doesn't exactly have the most tanky stats, but the Super Soaker GLP 800, pretty handy, giving yourself some extra health, and Kuro able to just chug down on some of his corrupting potion. And now Rox transition that immediately, utilizing all of that extra pressure they had on the bottom side into this inner turret. And this is it's looking like we're getting a macro lesson in League of Legends right now. That's what it feels like.
Mostly just disheartening, because it's really just EDG kind of giving up. They're putting their bot lane top to just get farm while they're leaving every objective uncontested. Because usually when you're behind, the thing you want to be looking for, as I said before, is what they'll do next. But how to counter that is looking on the other side of the map. So let's say if they're getting the dragon or getting the bot tower, at least put resources top, try to take a top tower, try and trade something. But they're not contesting any objective, and they're just trading it for like waves of XP, waves of gold, and it's really just giving up at that point. It's mostly just how you'd play in solo queue if you're in solo queue together. You're not really doing anything as a team, you're just slowly giving up objectives.
Meiko, speaking of which, actually going to empower the W, so Peanut going to get stunned up for the moment. ClearLove looking for his way in. Is going to jump on top of the Lee Sin as there's the onslaught of Shadow's Prey. Oh, doesn't get the fear to come out, but Peanut is going to fall down. Kuro, flashes after the Rune Prison. Lots of damage comes down now as he's just dancing around the fight. ClearLove closes the distance. Can he actually get it? Oh my goodness, sidesteps the Deadly Flourish as well as now Smeb just walking forward. Oh my god, the damage! And EDG are decimated.
That is disappointing.
That was revolting.
I mean, that was a way back into the game. But it really just looks like EDG is kind of giving up. I mean, just the way they're playing, a little sloppy, but they're just falling into this sort of trap. I don't know, they just all die.
Yeah, this was kind of okay when they chunk out Peanut.
This is great.
The big problem is that ClearLove actually misses his ultimate. If he hits the ultimate and Peanut goes down here, then he's going to have a lot more HP, and he would also be closer proximity to Kuro, and maybe Kuro actually goes down earlier.
Yeah, I think he could have ulted Kuro too, and if they killed Kuro here, they actually had a good shot at winning this team fight. It would have been 5 versus 3, even though they're down a lot of ults and a lot of resources. They still had a good shot, because Kuro still had his ult, and with 2 squishy targets, all it really took was being on sync and going on the same target, and Rox definitely had a way to, EDG had a good way of winning that team fight. They just turned into a slaughter.
Yeah, most certainly did. And once again, it comes down to Gorilla. The man did a heck of a lot of work. Had his double penetration items. We go back and have a look at the damage in that team fight. I mean, I have a feeling that the old Stranglethorns, Grasping Roots, all of the plants, and the Q damage is a big deal.
Quite a bit in that team fight. I guess we can talk about itemization. For Hecarim, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to rush the Triforce. Not much to say about that. For Lee Sin, it's pretty standard when you have a Zyra support to put the Aegis on the jungler. It's usually pretty bad to build Aegis on Zyra, since getting the AP on Zyra is actually really beneficial. Like, as a team, allocating the resources of putting the Aegis on the jungler is much better, and getting more damage on the Zyra is much better. So.
Yeah, I like that.
Not much else to just. I mean, he built full AP, which is good against double AP teams, so that's all there is to say about itemization.
What about Smeb? I mean, I know this isn't a top lane focus stream, but getting a second item GA.
I think it's just flexing.
Pretty hardcore.
I think that's actually super correct here. And that's primarily because right now he is so far ahead. And in a normal situation, a Maokai at 21 minutes is going to have that Spirit Visage, tier 2 boots, and maybe a cloth armor or something, right? He acknowledges that he's unnaturally fed, and he also acknowledges that in other games, maybe, Rox and EDG would be very even and cool. So if that's going to be the logic, then purchasing the Guardian Angel just removes EDG's abilities to sort of like make a pick or do anything that could skew the team fight in their favor. And it's just a defensive item that is being used offensively.
I also think it's just about the magic resist item. There's not many other magic resist items he can really get besides, G is a good option for the MR and the armor he needs. I think it's decent for just the stats it gives.
Yeah, the stats are completely well. He could go Banshees.
I prefer just going another like Cowl, or maybe just completing the armor item like Frozen Heart and then moving into another armor item, since he's so far ahead. I don't think he actually he can just shut down the whole game, just going in 1v5.
Yeah. Well, now they're just going to wander over and take a Baron. So Rox are just going from one objective to the next. They've taken 6 turrets to 0. They're 12,000 gold in the lead. They're just going to leave this ward here because they just don't seem to care. Curtain Call has been set up. Teleport coming in from Kuro. Can they actually get the team fight is the question. Good exhaust. And the Kennen can't do anything. Deft now trying to kite off to the side. Decent damage comes in, but the Baron was taken. Rox get 2 kills in trade for 1. Now they're still hunting for more. Deft wants to try and find it, but he's going to get stunned, going to get destroyed. And Peanut grabs that kill. Meiko falls as well. Just haphazard orbs circulating around Kuro. They're going to help take him down. And now it's only ClearLove left. And I don't think he's going to be able to defend this inhibitor turret.
Jeez, the gold deficit is a little much.
24 minutes in. And I mean, I want to ask a Twitter question because I feel like we don't have very much time left. But Rodrigo comes in with a very, very poignant one about our conversation earlier on. And he asks, instead of warding Tri-Brush at 3 minutes, where should I ward so I don't die? Matt,
oh,
please.
we're talking about bot lane?
Yeah, what do you do?
Well, actually, no. I was talking about just warding the Tri-Bush. Extending really puts yourself vulnerable. So instead of just warding the Tri-Bush, you ward in the area right before the Tri-Bush, which is what I like to call just the river. And I mean, obviously that's pretty general, but right below where the dragon wall ends, that's where you want to be putting your ward. Because it sees the
instead
entrance
of having to face check,
yeah,
right?
it sees the exit of Tribush and it sees the river. So don't face check, just put your ward right in the sort of the middle area of the bottom of the river.
All right, well, in the meantime, we did see exactly what happened there. EDG tried to go for a desperation fight, and nothing really worked.
Yeah, to make sure I completely describe that ward correctly, so if you see the pink ward in the bottom of the river, just to the left of that, outside of the brush, that's exactly where you want to be putting your wards, regardless of side. Either you're blue or purple, just put your wards right there.
Perfect. I'm going to write that down because I get killed there all the time. Actually, if I'm going to say I'm going to write it down, I don't even have a pen. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to write it down. I'm going to do my very best to remember. Iceborne Gauntlet was the next item built up there by Smeb. 10 kill participation out of 13 is fantastic here for this Maokai. He's done extraordinarily well. We have a look at our jungle matchup. 2-2-1 for ClearLove. There's another setup from Deft just trying to hold on to this. And Kuro once again going for the flank, but look at the shutdown. Comes in onto Prey. They lose Meiko, but he's the only one to fall just yet. I say that, and Kuro is going to fall, and now Smeb going for the dive. Remember, GA is still there. It's a double kill for the Aurelion Sol. Scout now trying to get some more damage in, but he flat out can't. And once again, ClearLove has no teammates left. He's going to get flashed on. There's the ace. And they're not going to take very long to take down these Nexus turrets. Rox Tigers in what was an even faster game than Game 1. And I wasn't expecting to be able to say that because Game 1 was really quick, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, EDG, they played that team play correctly, I guess. But, you know, being down 16k gold, no matter what you do, you kind of just lose.
Yeah. Just unfortunate. The fact that there were no adaptations made in the draft, they then picked themselves a slower team composition. A whole lot of what EDG were trying to do was honestly lost on me because I'm not entirely sure what the aim was there other than just a repeat performance of game number 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was one of the worst drafts I've ever seen from a world-class team. I have to say it that way. That was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what you want to say. Smeb completely outclassed Kuro up in the top lane single-handedly. The Hecarim is just completely useless.
Yeah.
Peanut was actually doing what he was supposed to do early on, which was do a 4 or 5 camp, because you know that Hecarim, the onus is on Hecarim to make something happen. Peanut inadvertently gets ahead via that, and then all he has to do is match gank or counter gank until level 5 or 6. But then because of the advantages that Prey had amassed in the bot lane, he's able to go down and sort of just skew Deft's recall timings, and that's just way too painful.
Yeah, and of course, you know, the fact that Kuro was supposed to be able to take advantage of a top matchup against a Maokai just flat out couldn't. The composition then looked better from Rox moving into game number 2 as opposed to game number 1 when they got everything that they wanted. The Zyra from Gorilla completely not looked at by EDG, still did phenomenally well. A whole lot of the plays actually made in the early game hinged around Gorilla and his Zyra play because he turned around that bottom lane gank, made it a 1-for-1 when honestly EDG were hoping to get a whitewash. It's just honestly disaster after disaster.
Yeah, that's where the lead really came from, was just the bot lane, how the 2v2 actually kind of crumbled for EDG, because getting that low really opened the gates for Rox to just 4-man bot. It kind of went to an ARAM style, but just the way they pushed up the tower, there's not much answer for EDG since they had to dedicate the Hecarim, and they already were on a bad timing where they had to go back. Otherwise, they lose out on just so much pressure, and using that lead, Rox was able to just keep on snowballing, keep on pressuring, and the top side didn't help at all since the favorable matchup, Kennen versus Maokai, ended up losing in CS, didn't have any pressure. I mean, if Kennen did get ahead and he had the pressure of pushing the lane and TPing bot, that's where the real sort of advantage would come from the top side, but there was no top side advantage, there's no bot side advantage. Jungle was a farming matchup for the Hecarim, and there's just not much to do when you're in that sort of position.
In the end, just basically a disaster. But coming up next, we're welcoming Kiwi Kid to the show to help us talk vision, warding, and macro strategy from the Rox Tigers perspective in a Fog of War cast. And for now, we'll send you back to the mainstream for an Analyst Desk breakdown of that dominating